China moves in silence. Behind the glowing skylines of Shanghai, beneath the endless data corridors of Beijing, and deep inside massive server farms stretching across Inner Mongolia, something is always happening. Billions of messages move every second. Financial transactions, military signals, personal conversations, all flowing through one invisible system, encryption. It's the shield of the modern world. And in China, that shield has been built stronger, faster, and more integrated than ever before. Every digital interaction is protected by layers of mathematics so complex they were designed to outlast generations of computing power. For years, that system has held, trusted not just within China, but across global networks connected to it. But in 2026, something shifted. Not publicly, not loudly, but deep inside China's research labs, a new kind of machine emerged. One that doesn't just challenge encryption, but redefines it entirely. A machine that doesn't break codes the way we understand, but simply makes them irrelevant. So the question is no longer whether encryption can be broken, but whether China has already found a way around it. China's digital infrastructure didn't evolve randomly. It was engineered with precision. From the earliest days of its technological expansion, China focused on control, scalability, and security. Massive networks were built, connecting cities, industries, and institutions into one unified digital ecosystem. At the center of that system lies encryption, the invisible barrier protecting everything. Every bank transaction processed through Chinese systems, every secure government communication, every piece of sensitive data is locked behind mathematical structures so vast they appear unbreakable. These structures rely on complexity, giant prime numbers multiplied into forms that are easy to create, but almost impossible to reverse. For traditional computers, cracking these systems would take thousands of years. Even with global computing power combined, the task remains unrealistic. That's why this system works. It's not about being impossible to break. It's about taking too long to matter. And for decades, that assumption has held strong. But China didn't stop at building stronger walls. It began exploring a completely different idea. What if you didn't need to break the wall at all? What if you could simply bypass it? While much of the world focused on improving traditional computing, China began investing in something far less understood: quantum technology. This wasn't just an upgrade. It was a shift into an entirely different dimension of computation. Traditional systems rely on bits, simple, predictable, binary. But China's quantum research introduced qubits, units that don't follow those same rules. Instead of being limited to a single state, qubits exist in multiple states at once. That means instead of solving problems step by step, quantum systems can explore countless possibilities simultaneously. It's not speed in the conventional sense. It's parallel reality processing. And China has spent years refining this concept, building labs, training scientists, and quietly advancing its capabilities. More importantly, China didn't treat quantum computing as just a scientific curiosity. It treated it as a strategic asset, because if mastered, quantum computing doesn't just improve performance. It changes what's possible. And in 2026, China reached a point where theory began turning into reality. But how far did they actually go? In 2026, China crossed a line that researchers around the world had been approaching, but not yet fully reaching. For years, quantum systems were unstable, fragile, easily disrupted by even the smallest environmental interference. Maintaining qubits long enough to perform meaningful calculations remained one of the biggest challenges. But China made progress, significant progress, by improving coherence times and reducing error rates. Chinese researchers were able to stabilize quantum states long enough to move beyond theory. For the first time, these machines could perform calculations that mattered, calculations with real-world implications. And among those implications, encryption stood out, because the same principles that allow quantum systems to process massive possibilities simultaneously also allow them to approach problems like factoring large numbers in entirely new ways. This wasn't just faster computing. This was a new computational framework. And with it, China positioned itself at the forefront of a technological shift that could redefine digital security. But if encryption is built on complexity, what happens when complexity is no longer a barrier? Modern encryption is built on a simple assumption that certain problems are too difficult to solve efficiently. Not impossible, just impractical. Factoring massive numbers, for example, is easy to verify, but incredibly hard to reverse. That's the foundation of systems like RSA, which protect everything from emails to global financial transactions. But China's quantum approach challenges that foundation. Instead of relying on brute force, trying every possible combination, quantum algorithms follow structured mathematical pathways. They don't guess blindly, they navigate. And if scaled properly, this method could reduce what once took thousands of years into something measurable in hours, or even minutes. That changes everything, because encryption doesn't fail gradually. It fails suddenly. One moment it's secure, the next it isn't. And if China reaches that level of quantum capability first, it doesn't just gain a technological advantage. It gains access to systems once considered untouchable. But is China already there, or still approaching the edge? Despite the rapid progress, China hasn't fully solved every challenge. Quantum systems remain delicate. External interference, heat, vibration, electromagnetic noise can disrupt calculations. Scaling these systems to handle large, real-world problems is still complex. But the pace of development is accelerating. China is investing heavily, financially, academically, and strategically. New research centers continue to emerge. Collaborations between institutions are growing. And each year, the gap between experimental and operational systems becomes smaller. What once seemed decades away now feels much closer. And unlike traditional technological races, quantum development isn't always visible. Much of it happens behind closed doors, in controlled environments, away from public attention, which makes it difficult to measure exactly how far ahead China is. But one thing is clear: China isn't slowing down. And in a field where even small breakthroughs can have massive consequences, that momentum matters. So while the world watches, China continues to build. China's advancements haven't gone unnoticed. Around the world, governments and institutions are responding fast. A new field has emerged: post-quantum cryptography. Encryption designed specifically to resist quantum attacks. New mathematical frameworks. New digital defenses. Entire systems being reimagined from the ground up. But there's a problem. Global infrastructure doesn't change overnight. Updating encryption across banks, governments, and communication networks takes time, years, sometimes decades. Every system must be redesigned, every device updated. And until that transition is complete, existing systems remain vulnerable. That creates a window, a period where old encryption is still in place, but no longer guaranteed to be secure. And if China reaches a functional quantum advantage during that window, even temporarily, it could access information that was never meant to be seen. Which raises a critical question: is the world moving fast enough to keep up? China doesn't need to break encryption today to benefit from it tomorrow. There's another approach. Collect now, decrypt later. Encrypted data can be stored indefinitely, waiting for the moment when technology catches up. Messages sent today, transactions made years ago, communications believed secure, all preserved, all waiting. And once quantum capabilities reach the necessary level, that data becomes accessible instantly. This transforms the concept of security. It's no longer about whether data is safe now, but whether it will remain safe in the future. And in a world where information equals power, that future matters. Because whoever controls access to information, past, present, and future, controls far more than just data. They control understanding, strategy, influence. And China appears to be positioning itself with that long-term vision in mind. This is no longer just about technology. It's about power. If China leads in quantum computing, it gains more than innovation. It gains visibility into systems that define global operations. Financial networks, government communications, strategic data flows. In a world where encryption no longer guarantees privacy, control shifts. And that shift doesn't happen gradually. It happens the moment one system outpaces the others. China's approach has been consistent. Long-term planning, strategic investment, and controlled execution. And quantum computing fits perfectly into that model. Because it's not just about building the technology. It's about being ready when it matters. And if that moment arrives, China won't just participate in the future of computing. It will shape it. Right now, everything still works. Encryption still protects your messages. Your data still feels secure. The systems we rely on are still standing. But beneath that stability, something is changing. China is building a new kind of machine, a new kind of capability, and a future where the rules of digital security may no longer apply. The shift won't be announced. It won't come with a warning. It will simply arrive. And when it does, the balance of power in the digital world could change overnight. The question is, will the world be ready? Or will China already be ahead? If you want to stay informed about the technologies reshaping our future, subscribe and follow. Because what happens next won't wait.